What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another Blazers Uprise free agency stream. Should have Eric joining us here shortly, and this free agent list on the left will get updated. We're going to stream for about 50 minutes here, so we're going to talk about the latest developments in free agency. After a slow day 1, we had some chaos in day 2. It is now day 4, July the 3rd, and trades could be on the radar. I don't know if it's for the Portland Trail Blazers, but Keith Smith tweet we're going to take a look at and talk about the latest in free agency. Are the Blazers done making moves? I'm not sure. What would it take for the Blazers to make a move right now? I'm not sure. We knew that they weren't going to be a player in terms of signing players. But trade-wise, are they truly done? And if they're done, how do they make the lineup work? Those are some of the questions that I've been wondering lately, and I don't know if we're going to get an answer anytime soon. It's a little too early to discuss Summer League, but I guess that would be the next thing to look forward to if the Blazers are indeed done. Hopefully everybody's enjoying their 3rd of July. Hopefully you have a good 4th tomorrow. Be safe, all that good stuff. Let me know how your day's going in the live chat. Let me know what you're hoping for from this Blazer team. Are you hoping that they run it back? Or are you hoping get traded? Let me know in the live chat. We still got the Twitter feeds down below, so in case anything hectic happens, you guys will see it first with those tweets. Jackson, I know I am currently updating it, like I said in the intro. Tweets will update. I would love for something chaotic to happen while we're on stream because we kind of missed all the chaos, but unfortunately, I'm not expecting anything tonight, so we're just going to talk about free agency once Eric goes here. In the meantime, I'm going to update this graphic. I will answer questions as well, and then we can get things rolling. Latest signings, you have Buddy Hield. He's going to be headed to the Golden State Warriors, replaces Clay's shooting. That's a signing that made a lot of sense. They had a need for it. And honestly, Buddy Hield should do pretty well in Golden State. I don't know if he'll be as good as Clay this year, but I think that was a good signing. Kyle Anderson also going to the Warriors. As the Timberwolves lost Kyle Anderson, they replaced him with Joe Ingles, who's going to kind of fill that like slow playmaker forward role for the Timberwolves. They also lost Monte Morris, but they got Rob Dillingham. So Rob Dillingham's going to replace Monte Morris. They're just fine there. That's their future point guard. You also have the Miami Heat signing Alec Burks. Good little bench pickup for them. They're also the front runner for DeMar DeRozan. The two teams that have been linked to DeMar DeRozan are the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers have an iffy cap situation, might have to sign and trade for him. The Lakers are basically who this offseason revolves around, despite them doing nothing. Like at this point, are the Lakers going to make a splash that's going to not only determine maybe where DeMar DeRozan goes, but also if Jerami Grant's still on the Blazers or if Kyle Kuzma returns to the Lakers. The Lakers have had talks with Portland, Washington, and Brooklyn. Brooklyn's two wings that they are supposedly interested in are Dorian Finney-Smith as well as Cam Johnson. So the Lakers, will they do something? Because it has not been a good free agency so far. I saw a tweet today that said, it's funny how the Clippers lost Paul George and the Warriors lost Klay Thompson, but the Lakers are still having the worst offseason out of California teams. And it's funny, and it's also kind of true, because for the 3rd straight transactional window, it seems like the Lakers are standing at. I don't think they can afford to do that. So what do they do? What does Rob Pelinka do? What does LeBron James try and make happen? Because we all know he has a large voice in that front office. It's going to be fascinating to watch the rest of free agency for the Los Angeles Lakers. Also, there have been rumors that Mario Hezonja could be looking at an NBA return. It's funny because I was watching tape of Hezonja playing in Europe. Apparently, he shot like 43% from 3 last year, which I think was maybe higher than his field goal percentage in Portland. I don't know. Maybe Hezonja's better now. I don't know, but I don't want him back on my team. Although it would be kind of fun for the memes now that we're not trying to win like we were when the Blazers initially got him. It was always fun when guys like Anthony Tolliver and Mario Hezonja were the offseason pickups for the Blazers to try and build a winner around Dame. You still have some shooters left on the free agent market. Luke Kennard, Gary Trent Jr. is out there. Seth Curry's out there. There's been some Gary Trent Jr. to Milwaukee whisperings. I don't know if it's like legit rumors. Just stuff I've seen on Twitter. That'd be interesting to see him play with Damian Lillard again. But it sounds like he is going to maybe not even get the taxpayer mid-level exception. Gary Trent Jr. might be a minimum player right now, which is kind of crazy. Also, don't think I forgot about Eric's guy, Terry Stotts. He's back. He's back. He is now an assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors. If you can't beat him, join him. Terry Stotts joins the Warriors, although the Warriors are washed now, so no Clay. Apparently Draymond almost left for, I don't even remember the destination, but he almost left, and then the Warriors convinced him to stay. It's going to be interesting to see how bad they are next year. But Terry Stotts back in the league. Of course, he came back last offseason, joined Adrian Griffin's staff with the Milwaukee Bucks, and then did not see it through until to the start of the season. He left, he resigned. I guess he butted heads with Adrian Griffin and decided to bow out. Didn't want to coach Dame there in Milwaukee. Didn't want to coach with Adrian Griffin there in Milwaukee. So now he's going to go coach Steph with Steve Kerr, lead assistant. You also have former Blazer coach Nate McMillan. He got hired as an assistant for the Los Angeles Lakers under J.J. Redick. The Lakers also made some noise when they signed Bronny James to a 4-year guaranteed contract, and people were comparing it to 55th overall picks the past few years, how they never get 4-year guaranteed contracts. But you had some players that were drafted 57th, 58th get guaranteed contracts. Like, I get that there's nepotism with Bronny at play. I just don't understand crying about it. I don't understand focusing so heavily on it. Nobody would care otherwise about a second-round pick signing a 4-year contract as the 14th man on a team. Nobody would care. But since it's Bronny, people care. I just don't really understand why it's a big deal. Like, yeah, nepotism, cool. So what? It's not like he's an absolute scrub. If he was an absolute scrub, maybe. But he's fine. Like, he's fine on that contract. Anyway, Eric said he should be here like 5 minutes ago. Looking forward to getting his thoughts, and we'll dive into trades once he gets here. In the meantime, we have an updated free agency list. These are, in my opinion, the top 10 free agents remaining. DeMar DeRozan, the number 1 guy. Caleb Martin, the number 2 guy. DeRozan has ties to the Heat. The Heat maybe replace Caleb Martin with DeMar DeRozan. Tyus Jones is a good point guard left on the market. Markelle Fultz left on the market. Kyle Lowry left on the market. So you got some point guards there. Fontecchio with the Pistons. I believe he's a restricted free agent. He's a shooter. Haywood Highsmith with the Heat. Kennard, Trent Jr., Isaac Okoro. You still got some okay names left there on the board, but none of these guys are going to be true difference makers except maybe DeRozan or Caleb Martin. Landon, thank you. He says, on Anthony Irwin's podcast, Anthony Irwin, if you don't know, is a reporter out of LA. He says that the Grant to Lakers deal has lost traction because the Lakers refuse to trade both of their picks, and Portland isn't budging on the asking price. So this, of course, is the thumbnail, is the title of this stream. Is it dead? Here's the thing. I've told you guys that is the sticking point between the Lakers and the Blazers. If the Blazers only wanted one first back for Jerami Grant would already be a Laker. If the Lakers were willing to give up 2 firsts already, Jerami Grant would be a Laker. So Jerami Grant's a Blazer right now. Cronin's going to play hardball. He has to play hardball. The Lakers have to get a difference maker. I don't think Kyle Kuzma is a difference maker. I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith or Cam Johnson are difference makers for the Los Angeles Lakers. We're talking about a team that was a first-round exit last year to the Denver Nuggets. I know they were the defending champs, but they didn't make it past the Timberwolves. The Lakers are a playing caliber team right now. And Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, they don't take you from playing team to contender. Jerami Grant is the best player out of the bunch. And at some point, they're going to have to commit to something. And that something should obviously be winning when you have a 39-year-old LeBron James who's going to turn 40 next season. Jerami is the biggest difference maker out of all those players for the Los Angeles Lakers. Somebody in chat, is Jerami even better than Kuz? Bro, come on, how is Jerami a difference maker? Jerami is a absolute difference maker for a team that was 28th in three-point shooting last year. He shot 40% from 3 at a power forward position the last 2 years. The Lakers have good rebounding. That's not an issue. He shouldn't have to be matched up on guards. That shouldn't be an issue. Jerami Grant is an above-average defender if he's only guarding forwards. If he has to chase guys through screens, that's where he struggles. The problem is, Portland has played Jerami Grant in a role that isn't best suited for him because of his weaknesses. He would go and start at small forward for the Lakers, LeBron, power forward, point forward, whatever you want to call him. The rebounding isn't going to be an issue with Jerami Grant in LA like it is in Portland when he's playing power forward. Williker says, I'm just saying he's not a third guy on a contender. Absolutely he is. Absolutely he is. Absolutely. I don't want it to get confused. I want Jerami Grant traded. It's not because he's a bad player. It's because of the position Portland's in. Jerami Grant is fully capable of being the third best player on a contender. Fully capable. 3-level scorer. In LA, he just catch and shoot threes at 40% clip. And then he gets run off the line and drives downhill and gets to the rim. And then probably plays better defense if they use him properly on the defensive end where he doesn't have to chase guards through screens and guard forwards. Just because somebody hasn't gotten the opportunity to be the third best player on a contender doesn't mean they can't be. Jerami Grant's been sitting here. He's gotten a lot better as a scorer, but he's been sitting here in Detroit and Portland. It's not like either of those organizations gave him the chance and he failed. He deserves the chance to be the third best player on a championship team. I think he's definitely capable. The Lakers seem to want him, but not for the asking price. And it's funny because we're talking down upon Jerami like he's not the third best player on a championship team. Kyle Kuzma isn't. Dorian Finney-Smith definitely isn't. Cam Johnson definitely isn't. Jerami Grant is the only guy out of those 4 names that has a chance to be good enough to be the third best player on a championship team. And that's entirely my point with the Lakers. They can sit here and hang on to their 2031 first round pick and go get Cam Johnson and not have a chance of contending. That's fine. It's a mistake, though. It's a mistake. They need more upside. They need somebody that could be the third best player on a championship team. Jerami Grant's the only name out there that they've been tied to that has a chance to be. Otherwise, they're just kind of wasting their time, in my opinion. And if they care about the Jerami Grant contract, when they could be giving up Gabe Vincent, who's making $10 million undeservedly over the next couple of years, when they're maybe giving up Jared Vanderbilt, who's making $10 million undeservedly over the next 4 years and can't stay healthy. They could trade out bad contracts in this deal as well. The cap is going to go up a ton. If they're worrying about the money aspect with Jerami, that's just silly as well. in my opinion. Obviously, they have to standard aprons and all that, but they can do that and trade for him and give up 2 firsts. Anyway, we're going to bring Eric on here. All right, we're going to welcome special guest. You're a guest on your own show. Special guest Eric Brandt to the show. Eric, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tori. I've always wanted to be on Blazers Uprise.
Congratulations. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. Don't mess it up. All right, here's a question. Do you think the Lakers should give up 2 first-round picks for Jerami Grant?
Do I think so? As a Blazer fan, yes.
Do you think so from the Lakers' standpoint? Also lower your camera just a little bit. There you go. All right.
Hello, everyone. I think it'd be stupid for them to use assets to dump salary without it being part of a bigger trade. I don't know why they're talking about like dumping salary without it being a part of a trade, no matter who they trade for, first of all. It's, to me, you have LeBron, you can't play this game where you're not going to go all in for him. He's 40 years old. Either you're done competing for a championship and he's just there as a, for his last couple of years as just, it's basically going to turn into what happened to Kobe the last few years, right? Where his team sucked. They didn't make the playoffs, and, Kobe's taken 50 shots to get 60 points his last game and is just on a farewell tour his whole last season, That's basically what it's going to turn into. Or you can make a move and, they're only a year removed from the conference finals. It's not like it would be that big of a stretch to see them go on a run again. And I don't know if Jerami is the right guy for that, but I completely agree with you that of the players available, he would fit what they need the best.
Yeah, here's the thing. You can always talk yourself out of taking a risk.
Yeah.
And that's what some people in chat are doing with Jerami Grant. Oh, he's 30 years old. Oh, his contract. Oh, can he be the third best player on a championship team? You can always talk yourself out of taking a risk. The problem is, that's what the Lakers have been doing. And that's why they're not good enough to contend, because they talk themselves out of risks.
Yep.
Ultimately, giving up 2 future firsts for Jerami Grant is a massive risk. But you got LeBron, and you can't just sit here and keep doing nothing or have a low-risk, low-reward play here. They need a high-risk, high-reward play. There's no play. You're going to have to give up something for a player of Jerami Grant's caliber. There is no high-reward, low-risk offer out there for the Los Angeles Lakers. They're going to have to pay something to get a legitimate difference maker. So basically, they can sit here and talk themselves out of everything and do nothing, and that's incredibly stupid. They could sit here and go get a Cam Johnson who doesn't make a difference. They're still losing in the first round. And maybe they save a future first-round pick because of that. But it's like, why are you worried about 2031 when you got LeBron in 2024 when he's about to turn 40? So the alternative is to actually do something worth doing. And that's to trade for Jerami Grant, in my opinion. If I was a Laker fan, I would want to give up 2 first-round picks for Jerami Grant. Pretty simple.
People are saying the audio is bugging out.
Is it bugging out for you?
Not on Skype, but I'm not listening to it on.
It's weird. Okay, let me close Photoshop. Maybe I need to close Photoshop. Or maybe it's all that background. Yeah, reload the channel. I don't know what it would be. Maybe it's an issue on YouTube's end because I'm definitely not lagging. My internet's been fine. I haven't lagged since I fixed it. So that's not a thing anymore. We don't do that anymore. We don't lag. Okay, if it's a stutter, I'm just gonna blame YouTube. So yeah, just reload the page and you should be fine. I also close Photoshop because sometimes I can mess with my computer because Photoshop is intensive. It's a workout on the computer. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, and oh my goodness, the background noise. Anyway,
so people drive me crazy with their arguments. Jeremy's 30 years old. Guess what? LeBron is almost 40. Like, what? What does it matter? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who cares? Who cares that he's 30? LeBron is almost 10 years older than him. And Anthony Davis is 31. So, like, what? Who cares if Jeremy Grant's 30?
They shouldn't value any players over 30, Eric. They should just let LeBron, they should have let him sign somewhere else. They shouldn't have even offered him a contract. I mean, his son has to be more valuable than LeBron because his son's 20. Right? Is that the game we're playing here? What are we talking about?
I mean, like, if you're trading for Al Horford or something, you know, like, he just won a championship, so that's a bad example. But you know what I mean? Like, someone who's, or Chris Paul or something, you know, like, maybe you can say, like, oh, his age, he's not what he used to be. Right. Correct. But for what they need, whatever player they trade for to do, it's like a 2, maybe 3-year window. Where they need him to be good enough. So, like, I wouldn't be concerned with what happens 4 years from now. And Jeremy doesn't seem... I mean, I think he's going to be fine throughout his contract. I don't think he's going to, like, fall off at 33 or something, you know?
Yeah, it's just like, you got 40-year-old LeBron, about to be 40-year-old LeBron. Why aren't you focused on next season? Why are you focused on 7 years from now in 2031 with a pick? Or why are you focused on when Jeremy Grant's 35, 5 years from now? It's all about timeline. It's all about timeline, which is why a trade makes sense. Because Portland has a futuristic timeline. So future picks are great. Right? But the Lakers are all about right now, or they should be. And if they're not, it's a mistake. I just think it's pretty simple. So, ultimately, we'll see what happens, Eric. What's your gut feeling telling you right now is going to happen here?
I never like to say my gut feeling says it's going to be a trade, so I'll just say it's they'll do nothing. Because, so I inquired once again today about this.
Yep.
And I was told it's just a giant game of chicken, which we've already talked about.
Yep.
But from what I was told, Joe Cronin will not trade Jeremy Grant unless he gets 2 firsts for him, whether it's from the Lakers or whatever team. He will not trade him. If he changes that, then I think that's a mistake. I think it's good that he's holding out for that. The problem becomes what happens if we go the whole rest of the summer, the Lakers are tied to their lineup or whatever. They sign some vet mins and hover around the second apron, so they can't make a trade or whatever. What would you still say that Cronin should do that? Hold tight to that belief? And because I think eventually a team will cave. There's way too many teams that are being left in the dust right now. I think one of them will cave. It's just a matter of which one, in my opinion.
I mean, if I were Joe, I'd be willing to do right to swap 2029 and then a 2030 first. I think that's just as good as 2 firsts, basically, because you're going to have the worst of 3 picks that you can swap for the Lakers picks in 2029. So if the Lakers suck, that could be, Boston's 25th pick, assuming they're still good, while the Lakers pick is 5th. If you get that swap right, plus a 2030 pick, then I'd do that. The problem is then the Lakers can't trade another future first because they can only go up to 2031 and the stepping rule. Right now they could trade 2029 and 2031 outright with a swap in 2030, but if they did a swap in 2029 and a first outright in 2030, then they can't trade 2031 because that'd be 2 years in a row they would not have a pick. A swap, they still have a pick. So maybe the solution is something creative, but I assume the Lakers, I don't know, they want to keep 2 picks or at least 1 pick so they can trade at the deadline, I'd guess. So that kind of kills that flexibility. And here's the thing for me, like, he can move off that asking price at next year's trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Or even next offseason. Okay? Like, I think you'll still be able to get a first-round pick for Jerami Grant at the deadline. But does taking Jerami Grant into the season hurt anything? Because then maybe it makes sense to actually take it now. The problem is, you know, if you lose out on a deal that you potentially could have gotten because you caved too early. So this is the calculation. The one thing I'm worried about is, okay, who are you bringing off the bench to start next season if you keep both Ant and Grant? And then, you know, like, who doesn't get to start? And then also touches. Like, is Avdia going to take too much of a back seat? Because you gave up 2 first-round picks for Avdia. They're prioritizing Avdia more than they're prioritizing Jerami Grant. They gave up 2 first-round picks for Avdia to bring him in to be a part of their future. And they want to recoup the same value with Jerami Grant, which I think Jerami Grant's just good. But if Jerami Grant's still here, does he take priority in the offense next year? Is the question.
Yeah, that's what we need to figure out, because is it worth taking slightly less for that? So one thing, and then I want to ask you another question. Okay, so I saw in chat that Jerami wasn't even worth a first 2 years ago. He was traded for a first-round pick.
Yeah.
And this is why he was not worth more than a first, because they were asking for 2 firsts, just like Joe Cronin. And they actually turned down Jerami being a part of the CJ trade. We tried to flip Josh Hart and a first-round pick to them. That first-round pick that was going to be a lottery pick. The Detroit Pistons refused to accept a pick that wasn't guaranteed or could possibly not convey to them. They wanted a pick that was for sure, like, they knew what it was. And they didn't like the way that pick was protected. And so we go into the offseason, and the only reason Portland was able to get him for 1 first-round pick, well, there's 2 reasons. One is Jerami signed there, and when he signed, they made it clear as part of their agreement, a handshake agreement, that Jerami, they would take care of him if he ever wanted to leave, because he chose the exact same contract. He chose to go to Detroit over staying in Denver, where he probably could have won a title. So they honored that. They, unlike RGM, that was not a lie, I guess, and they helped him get to where he wanted to go. But the main reason it only took a first-round pick was because Portland had a trade exception and could outright take Jerami Grant, which allowed Detroit to do their next move, which they already had planned, and that was to take salary from the New York Knicks to move back into the lottery a second time and possibly get Jalen Duren or whoever else. Maybe they would have had to make another move if Duren didn't fall to that pick. But they wanted to get in a position where they could take on that salary for New York and get another lottery pick. And that doesn't happen without finding a team that can take Jerami outright. And so the cap savings, along with, Jerami's good relationship with Troy Weaver, allowed them to trade him for a little less than market value. Now, in this situation, it's the exact opposite. LA needs to include more value because they're including crap contracts that, I mean, Rui's not a crap contract, I guess, but no one wants Gabe Vincent's contract, right? So if you're taking that on, It's not like you get to trade less in your trade for giving up Gabe Vincent. Like you're having to include at least a second probably to do that. So if you're doing that and you're saying the value of Jerami is a little more than a first round pick, then it starts to equal closer to 2 first round picks, even if you don't think Jerami's value is 2 first round picks, which I do.
Yep. Fully agree. Shout out to Chapel Perilous, gifted 5 Blazers Uprise memberships. And the winners of those were Alex R., D. Lil Bestie, AJ Poseidon, Matt, and Pim. Shout out to Chappelle Chapel. I don't know how to say it, but thank you for gifting the measurement. Or
Chapel Perilous.
I can't even say memberships. I said measurements. Thank you for gifting the memberships. A shout out to those of you who won it. Also, if the audio's messing up, refresh YouTube. It's a YouTube glitch or something. Anyway.
My question to you, Tori.
Yeah. Didn't you start off that whole thing with, like, I'm asking you a question?
No, I said I want to say something and then afterwards ask you a question.
All right. What's the question?
Sneaky, like, I think initially you'll say what you just said is the better deal. Would you rather have, if you could have one unprotected swap, 2029 or 2026?
2029.
I'm just thinking, like, what would happen if LeBron's 41, Anthony Davis could certainly get hurt, Jerami's not carrying that team if that happens.
Yeah, but that's a lot of what ifs, where 2029 LeBron's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, true, but...
And in 2029, you're swapping the worst of 3 picks for the Lakers pick. Whereas if in 2026, we could still suck, and that swap might not even matter, even if everything goes wrong for the Lakers.
That part is true, but it might give us 2 chances at, like, Dybonsa or Campus or something. I just
don't think the Lakers, like, they're still going to have LeBron. They're still going to have AD. They're still going to have Jerami Grant. Like, yes, maybe lightning could strike all over the place and their whole team falls apart and they suck, but I would rather have it in 2029. I think it's more likely that they suck in 2029, and it's much more likely that the swap would be better for us.
Yeah.
But if it's a 2029 first and they want to do the 2026 swap, I feel like they're more likely to want to do the 2026 swap. The Blazers shouldn't necessarily shy away from a first and a swap for Grant if the swap has upside. I just don't know if the 2026 swap has upside. If we had a like Boston's 2026 first and that was the pick we're swapping, sure. But since it's our own, it just feels like there's a better chance that it ends up being absolutely nothing, and then we're just getting one first round pick back.
Is it worth that risk, though, if there's, like, even this small chance?
I mean, there's a bigger chance in 2029, so...
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's also a chance, too, they're, like, a play-in team, but move up in the lottery like the Hawks did.
Yeah, I mean, but they have LeBron, they have AD, if they have Grant, and Dalton Connect, and Austin Reeves, like...
So,
and who knows what they do in next year's offseason, like, maybe they could bring in somebody else that helps. It's just very unlikely to me. I feel like it's more so, we know the players in the 2026 draft, Dybonsa and Cam Boozer look really, really good, so just wanted to have more of a chance at one of those guys, when, in my opinion, it's still more logical to wait till 2029.
So would you accept a 2029 first outright and the 2026 swap? Or you hold out for...
I would want, if the 2026 swap doesn't convey, it turns into a 2030 swap. That's what I would ask for. They can still trade their 2031 first.
Or second rounders or something.
Yeah, like we can basically defer the 2026 swap to 2030. So like even if it's like they're 2 picks higher than us, we could defer that to 2030. Then you're you're likely going to get something. You're likely going to swap one of the 2 years. So it's likely going to end up basically moving up in the draft and getting another first. And that's close to 2 firsts. So that's what I would ask for. Because if they still want their 2031 first to go trade for, I don't know, Dorian Finney-Smith or whatever the hell they're trying to do with that, then that could be the best way for both teams. And I hope that Cronin isn't so hard-headed, like, I gotta get 2 firsts outright no matter what. I hope that he's not so stuck on that he wouldn't consider something like that, like what I proposed.
Yeah, well, I forgot who it was, if it was Woj or someone else. Might have been Irwin, too. Someone said that the Lakers were not willing to give a first, and then he listed a bunch of names, including DFS and Cam Johnson and stuff like that. But Grant was not on that list.
Yeah, I think it's clear that they're willing to give up a first-round pick for Jerami Grant.
Mm-hmm.
It's legitimately... They want to give up 1 first, Portland wants 2. It's been this way the whole time. That's what we've been saying the whole time. It's clearly the situation here. And it's just who caves first, and is there a middle ground that they could meet in terms of figuring out swaps or something? I don't know. Mm-hmm. At this point, I feel like it's unlikely that the Blazers do anything else this entire offseason. But that's also my gut feeling, being like, oh, well, this would be like the Blazers start off the offseason really, really good and then don't do anything else the rest of the offseason. That feels like a Blazer offseason. You know, listen, it would still get a positive grade from me if they didn't do anything else this offseason, and there may not be a good move out there for Jerami Grant, so it may be completely out of Joe Cronin's control. But I'm just hoping that this offseason can be looked back at as an absolute win. Like, I would love to sit here after an offseason and say, yeah, that's an A grade offseason. Or that's an A- grade offseason. Because when was the last time we ever said that about an offseason? I don't know if we've ever been able to say that about an offseason. Because it's not like Neil Olshey was doing what he was supposed to do. And it's not like Joe Cronin has had good offseasons. So, that's all I'm hoping for, man. Like, I really, really badly want it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, two years ago, I guess, it was somewhat similar in that we get Shaedon Sharpe in the draft and trade for Jerami Grant, like, the day before the draft. So, it's like, we're coming off the high of a good trade and a good draft pick, just like this offseason. And then we followed up by wasting our mid-level exception and getting hard cap for Gary Payton II.
Yeah.
Like, so just can't just quite get it 100% right. So hopefully that's different this offseason. But I don't know. I'm not really panicking about it because I feel like, I mean, unless the Lakers make another trade or like every team that needs to improve makes trades and moves, I feel like it's still something that could drag on for a while.
Yeah. What else?
Pelinka's getting like ridiculed.
Oh yeah, you hope it turns into him making a splash, man. But I feel like their most likely move is going to be Kyle Kuzma.
I don't know if they would, because they'd have to give up at least a first to get him, and apparently the Wizards are also asking for 2 firsts. So I don't know if they cave on that asking price either, but something tells me that Pelinka would have trouble, like, pride-wise, giving up assets for someone he traded away a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Because that trade looked really bad ever since. So, like, he'd be admitting that he messed up or whatever, and having to pay a premium to do so. I don't know if he would do that.
Yeah, they're just gonna have to do something. There's gonna have to do something. Shout out to Embarking Box member for 14 months. Says my last stream in Texas. See y'all hopefully soon. Yeah, safe travels. Hopefully your move goes well.
Yeah,
Shout out to Brandon Lee, $5 donation. Says long-term viewer. Thanks for all the contents. Just a trade idea. Would you do a Grant trade if Clippers offer an unprotected first plus salary?
I don't think the Clippers can trade a first.
Yeah, they can. They haven't traded a first this offseason, right?
But in the Harden trade, they traded 2028 and 2030, didn't they?
I don't think that's true.
Or was it just 20? I thought they traded their 2030 first at some point.
I don't believe that's true.
Might be wrong.
Let me look. Hold on.
I could look it up too.
No, I'm already here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to the team sheet copies that we had. Except my computer's being slow. Alright, fine, you figure it
out. Yeah, it's 28. It's 28 first and then 29 pick swap.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So they can trade a first. So you could do 2030 first, 2031 pick swap. That's intriguing to me. You could maybe... Do they have, like, a 2027 first, then?
No. They still owe first-round picks through 2027 to... and swaps to OKC.
So the 2028 is the swap and the 2029? No, you said they traded their 2028 first. So
yeah.
How do they not have a 2027 first?
Because they owe their 2026 first to OKC still, and then their 2027 is a swap.
Yeah, their 2027 is a swap. Okay.
And then 2028 is unprotected.
Yeah, that's what... Okay, yeah.
I'm saying all their picks prior to 2028 are all to OKC, whether it's swap or...
Yeah, I was just asking if there was a swap in 2027. Because I was going to say, if they had it outright, I just like the idea of having a swap 1 year and being able to defer it to a future year. Because they can't trade more than one first. And they don't have anybody you can flip that you get value for. And if you do that, you're probably getting back Norman Powell. And I don't want Norman Powell back, man. I don't want that back. I mean, there are other destinations for Jerami. Golden State, maybe, if they strike out on Lauri Markkanen. Sacramento. And maybe there's a dark horse team or two out there as well. But, yeah. It's probably the Lakers are bust at this point. They can give up the best future firsts. And they're the team that's most desperate. Shout out to Cam23, $2 donation. Says, where do Lakers rank for championship with Grant? I think they're a... I mean, I could see them going on like a Mavericks run. If they have Grant. Or they get a 5 seed and then make their way to the finals.
Yeah, as of right now, I don't think Denver's quite as good, losing KCP and Bruce Brown in consecutive years. The Clippers are obviously not as good. Warriors, you would think, aren't the threat they were in the past. Sacramento hasn't really done much. I know they drafted Devin Carter. He's now hurt. But they haven't. I mean, they had Jalen McDaniels. That's about it. Re-signed Monk. That was important. But I don't know. They're basically running the team back. I mean, so you got Minnesota, Dallas, OKC, probably clearly better than them in the regular season at least. So, yeah, I would be surprised if they're that 4 to 6 range.
Yeah. So if they bring Jerami back, he's obviously going to start. That raises the final. This is the final thing we're going to talk about on the stream. Like I said, short stream. If we have any rumors this weekend, then we can stream, and hopefully we have something. It's tough to go live and not talk about much, because it's not like we're talking about draft or anything. Draft's over. And it's basically just waiting for legitimate rumors, just waiting for something to happen. So, my final question, I'm going to do a chat poll with this. Okay. If the Blazers run it back, who should they bring off the bench? And let's just say they're going to start Jerami, okay? So he's not going to be an option. And the options are Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, or Denny Avdia.
Start Jerami at center.
I don't like any of those options, Eric.
Nah.
I figured this is how it's going to go. People are going to say Scoot or Ant.
Yeah.
I almost... You know what I would say? Actually, I want your answer first.
Well, this is why I want to trade Jerami, so we don't get put in this position. If that is not an option and I have to bench one of these four guys or come off the bench, one, I'm waiting to see what improvements or how good Sharp and Scoop look in training camp. If one of the two clearly got much better in the offseason and really worked on their game, I would want to reward them by starting. If they both did, I'd probably want to reward them by starting. If one of the two looks like they didn't improve that much or just kind of isn't standing out or whatever, earning that spot, it would probably be one of those two. And I don't know, I think the minutes-wise, you could still play them all 30-some minutes, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. But obviously, I'd probably pick Scoot to ease back into the lineup slower, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so Sharp had his injury last year and has been recovering from it in the offseason, so I'm very tempted to go with Shaden Sharp.
Yeah.
But also, I like Shaden Sharp's athleticism, cutting ability, playing off of Avdia, playing off of Simons a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I think Scoot and Shaden are a better backcourt fit than Scoot and Ant.
Yeah.
So I think I'd answer Shaden simply because you can sub him in early. He's recovering from injury. You don't have to rush him into the starting lineup. They brought him off the bench last year. Yes, it kind of sucks, but you can still get him 30-plus minutes. And, remember last year, he didn't start the season starting, and then Ant gets hurt, so then he starts, and then Chauncey starts playing him 42 minutes a game for stretches, and kind of ran Sharp into the ground. So I'd probably go Sharp, but I don't want to bring Sharp off the bench, man. I don't like that. I don't like any of these options coming off the bench, which is why I also really want a Jerami trade to happen. Because ultimately I think it would end up being Scoot. And I just want to give him the keys to the offense, at least a little bit, in a starting role. Let him build upon last year. He started at the end of last year. He made improvements last year. Let him build upon that by letting him start. So I don't like bringing Scoot off the bench.
Yeah. The only thing you could say is, he started to play better. I think he did get his confidence playing against second units a little bit versus starting where you're playing against tougher competition. So maybe you just frame it that way, that he gets to run against second units.
Yeah, but he's played some of his best basketball when he was starting, though, at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's it can't just be, he'll play better against worse players, so we should never start him. You know what I mean? Every player would play better against worse players against a bench lineup. So, you're trying to turn him into a starter. You drafted him 3rd overall in a deep draft, in a good draft. So you got to make progress, and that's the problem with bringing him off the bench. Now, if that's the option out of the 4, it makes sense. It's just it makes sense because the situation doesn't make sense. Like, you got to get assets for Jerami. And that's the thing I raised earlier, like, is bringing back Jerami going to be detrimental to the growth of anyone on this team? Then maybe it makes sense to budge off the 2 first-round pick thing. And if Scoot's being brought off the bench, what's the difference between Scoot being brought off the bench versus starting if he's playing similar minutes? Ultimately, I don't think there's a huge difference, but I do think there is a little bit of a difference.
Yeah. I still think... I mean, they've talked about this. They want players that'll compete for spots, So I don't think their mindset is that anything should be given. So I'd just keep an open mind. I mean, obviously we know what players are going to be in the equation or not, but I would just say look, guys, we have 6 starters. We can only start 5 of them. Let's let the best 5 win in training camp.
See, but I don't like... Okay, Scoot, you're 2. He's going to come off the bench because we have 4 players that are too good, even though we still suck.
Yeah. But
you know what I mean? It's like an oxymoron in a way.
Right.
It's strange, like, because I still don't think that team's good. But, out of the 5, he's probably... I don't want to say the worst one, but the other 4 are probably all better than him, but it's because he's 20. It's because he's going into year 2. And I just think there's something about, like, okay, he's your point guard, he's your floor general, like, you give him the keys as a starter where it's like his offense to run, and I think that's better than if he's coming into the game that's already going and it's not like it's his team to run if he comes into the game off the bench. There's like a difference there for a floor general, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's where I want Grant gone. Or that's where it's like, if you get back good value on Ant, that's also why I'm fine with trading Ant if you can't get back good value for Jerami. But ultimately, it's much more likely you get back good value for Jerami than Ant. So Jeremy's the guy.
Yeah.
So Keith Smith had a tweet, and I'll end the stream with this. Keith Smith had a tweet. Where is it at? He said, talking to some teams tonight, and it sounds like what's being worked on now is expanding some of the previously agreed upon trades. There are also talks of tying some deals together into bigger deals. Essentially, teams are trying to find ways to make mutually beneficial trades. Related to this, with most of the best free agents off the board, it sounds like trades are probably the next wave. Anyone looking to make a major impact move is going to have to do it via trade at this point. Lakers. And then he had a quote tweet where somebody said to him, what's happening with the Knicks-Mikal Bridges trade? And he said, this is one of the deals that has been talked about being expanded.
Yeah, so a lot of these, that's why we've seen some things like sign-in trades become, see, this is why I always say they happen organically. Like, the Warriors, instead of losing Clay for nothing, turn it into a sign-in trade. And then using that, they're able to get Kyle Anderson and Buddy Hield, because they got that trade exception or whatever. And, their salary's obviously less without Clay. And so, like, there's a lot of these deals that could, if teams are smart, they could, forgot what it was. If it was, I think it was the Knicks, and this might be what he's talking about. I think there was some talk that they could add a player that's, I forget how much money it was, but there's like 3 to 5 million or something they could add to that trade, and it would still be a valid trade. It wasn't a ton of money, but there was ways they could make it work to where they could add another player from another team if there was some part of it, but they couldn't trade for that, or they'd have trouble trading for that salary without it included in that trade. So yeah, it's be interesting how these teams lump things together. And for the I don't know, the conspiracy things, could it be that that's what the Lakers are waiting on? Is like they've already agreed to a trade, but it's got to be roped into another trade, or it's possibly going to be roped into another trade, so they need that. They're waiting for that to be official or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. So stuff could happen. Stuff could be on the horizon. We won't be streaming tomorrow on Thursday because we're streaming tonight, and tomorrow is the 4th of July, so if you're celebrating the 4th, be safe. Enjoy your 4th of July. We'll be live again at the latest next Monday if nothing happens.
Yeah.
But if we get like legitimate rumors, we could very well go live to talk about them. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're at right now. Any final words, Eric?
David says, have you guys seen Ayton playing basketball recently? He had a 3 in the game today for the Bahamas. And VJ Edgecombe had a really nice game. So, yeah, been checking in a little bit. Also, there was a bunch of questions earlier about Gary Trent Jr. He doesn't make sense for the Blazers, but someone was asking if the Bucks could sign him. I mean, there are rumors out there that the Bucks are interested. I don't know. I think the only holdup is I don't think the Bucks want to or can use their tax mid-level exception, so they're trying to just sign minimum. So if Gary's willing to accept a minimum, I think that is definitely a place he could end up. And then you could basically make the argument that they upgraded Malik Beasley a little bit and upgraded Jay Crowder a little bit with the Taurean Prince signing. So a couple of good moves there if that's what happens.
Yep. Hopefully Dame is able to get in better shape to start the season and bounce back after last year. That would be cool as well. Anyway, we will bounce back maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, I'll stream if the Blazers do something on 4th of July, but otherwise we'll go back to Monday, Thursday. That actually might change with Summer League too, because we plan on streaming during Summer League games as well, so you guys can join us for that. Anyway, appreciate the love on the channel lately. It's been growing pretty quickly this offseason. We're getting close to 11K, so it took a while to reach 10K, but now we're close to 11K, so that'll be pretty cool. If you're new to the channel, appreciate you joining us, appreciate you watching the channel, and we have a lot of fun stuff covered for Summer League and next season. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Enjoy your 4th. Eric, you enjoy your 4th.
Happy 4th, everyone.
We are out of here. Hit the like on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!